was but a cold, misty day, just weeks before Christmas.
It's not a bad day for a little stroll. We gotta get out of the house every once in a while. Oh my god, is that a monkey?
You didn't get
what
this
the
from
heck?
me.
What is this? What? What in the world is this supposed to be? What the heck? What in the world? Oh my goodness, Olivia! What is this island? This is Donkey Kong Country! What the heck? All right, stop the music. Yes, Olivia, we are here to talk about Donkey Kong. And yeah, so Nintendo Switch is bringing returns back to the Switch. Like, we don't already have this one, which is like the same thing. And then, I mean, I'm going to get to this game because it is imperative and important that we discuss this. But before we get into all that, we need to go back to the beginning.
Thousands of years ago.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The first Donkey Kong game came out in 1981, a time before dinosaurs and quick cars.
That is old.
Now, this started with Donkey Kong featuring as the bad guy and Mario being the good guy trying to save the princess. Totally different aspects of the Donkey Kong that we know now. Now, before home consoles became a regular thing, there was a place you would actually go to, the local arcade center, to play these big, giant monsters that played video games at the time. Surprisingly, Nintendo actually started in 1889, where they were originally creating playing cards, and they spun out to various different types of companies before they even landed into video games. With the success of the original Donkey Kong, they created Donkey Kong Jr. and they created Donkey Kong 3, and then they went ahead and created another Donkey Kong Jr. math game that was pretty weird.
Because there's no need to stay in school if you can learn in a game.
Little did they know, with home consoles growing and the SNES coming out, Donkey Kong's future was going to completely change. With the arrival of Donkey Kong Country, thanks to one of the best game creators of all time back in those days, Rare. With their success creating multiple games, including Battletoads being one of their biggest sellers, and the ability to create pre-rendered 3D graphics to make the games look better running on those old systems, Nintendo saw this as an opportunity to let Rare take over Donkey Kong and recreate it into Donkey Kong Country, arriving on the Super Nintendo. This new 2D platformer with the amazing puzzles that it had and vast adventure ended up spiraling into an entire franchise featuring a second Donkey Kong Country game and a third one. They even created Diddy Kong Racing. So all in all, Rare's success with creating the Donkey Kong Country franchise was outstanding.
Great job!
And with the Nintendo 64 coming out, Rare had created one of the best games. I mean, oh my god, Banjo-Kazooie. Nintendo saw this and they thought about the Donkey Kong Country games that they were making and decided that maybe they should go back and create a new Donkey Kong game for the 64, thus becoming the birth of Donkey Kong 64. Now, even though Rare is the one that created all these Donkey Kong games, you will not find them in Rare Replay because Nintendo was the initial creator of Donkey Kong, therefore they have the rights. Now, speaking of legal situations, you know that Universal Studios tried to sue Nintendo because it was too relevant to King Kong, Donkey Kong. Now, if I could just jump into the future and stare off for a tiny bit, there was another game that I really did like that Nintendo created back in 2004 for the GameCube, was Donkey Kong Jungle Beats. And there are people that complain about this game because it uses the fact that the Congos to play the game, which is, I guess, a gimmick, but I absolutely love that. That's what made the game so fun to me. I mean, I beat the crap out of those drums. So if you ever get a chance to play it, I would recommend it. It's extremely fun. Now, Donkey Kong being the icon that he is, he did make it to Smash Bros. Actually, in the first one, somehow he didn't make it to the front cover, though.
Okay, I see how it is.
They did do a good job in his slow and strong movements, though, and, I mean, not a whole lot of people use him due to the fact that he is slower, but, I mean, he's a fun character to play as. He also played a huge role in the new Mario movie. That was awesome. They even featured Chunky Kong, Dixie Kong, Diddy Kong, Cranky Kong. I don't even know who else is in the background. Surprisingly, he was voiced over by Seth Rogen. That totally caught me by surprise. I was expecting someone with a deeper voice, but for the movie, it being funny and a comedy, Seth Rogen totally played the part awesome. Do you hear that sound? That is the sound of greatness. I hope you're just excited as I am. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for, to finally get through that whole beginning process of talking about everything Donkey Kong, to finally get here to this point. It's so beautiful. We finally found it! The treasure we've been looking for all this time! Donkey Kong 64! We finally found it! The holy grail of all games! I know! It's it! What is she shouting about? Oh, I'll tell you. Now, even with this beautiful game being the masterpiece that it is, there are still critics out there that talk down in this game and call it a collectathon, because apparently collectathons are just terrible these days. I don't know. Saying that the game's broken, like, I mean, you look at the games nowadays, you gotta get an update just to be able to play the game. So someone's gotta stand for this. Someone's gotta tell people out there that it's not what everybody says. The year was 1999. I was barely 8 years old and I was just playing Aladdin on the Super Nintendo. And guess what? It was my birthday.
Somebody's birthday?
So my granny took me to Walmart and I got to get me a 64. And lo and behold, the two games that I got, Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario 64. And the crazy part was, I didn't even know what these games were and I didn't pick them. My granny actually picked them out before me, but I remember it like it was yesterday. They were both sitting on the bottom shelf. This became my first interaction with 3D games. I didn't even know what I was getting into. These games brought a bigger adventure, more play styles, and a whole 3D spectrum that I didn't even know was possible. And because I got the Donkey Kong 64 game, it also came with the expansion pass, so I never really experienced what it was like without the expansion pass. Regardless, whenever that game turned on, you knew it turned on because of the iconic startup song.
Here we go. Performance for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap. As we take you through this monkey rap.
Yeah, you're experiencing pure 90s style music right here. As entertaining as this pop and rap mix was, it used this intro to tell you more about the Kongs that you were playing as and their capabilities. I mean, you get to see how Donkey Kong's able to use a gun in this game. That's, I mean, so entertaining. All the Kongs get guns, by the way. Of course, Donkey Kong's going to be your main playable character that you start off in the beginning of the game. So, I mean, there's not much to say about him when you already know this character very well. And this is our first time meeting Tiny Kong. She's actually Dixie Kong's younger sister. Obviously, one of her capabilities is shrinking down to size. And this is used in puzzles, and it's just entertaining playing as a character that's like microscopically small. Reminds me of Ant-Man. The other ability they just showed is when she gets to twirl her whole body in circles using her pigtails to hold her up like a helicopter. Now, Now, Lanky Kong is definitely not a fan favorite, but he got this weird ability to stretch and use his body practically like rubber. Not that I've ever seen this capability in Fantastic Four or One Piece. He can also do handstands because apparently if you do a handstand, it makes it easier to walk up slopes that other Kongs can't reach. Yeah, he can also blow up himself to reach higher areas as if he's going Gear 4. But we're not going to forget our true favorite character, Diddy Kong. He's obviously going to make an appearance in this one. And yes, you do get your jetpack and you get to fly all over the place while shooting little Uzis, using freaking peanuts as ammunition. And if that wasn't cool enough, they make him even cooler by giving him a guitar as an instrument to blast the sound wave that eliminates all the enemies in the area. Oddly enough, this one's my personal favorite is Chunky Kong. He's the biggest, the strongest, and he's scared of everything. Goofy, like it's a spectacular tragedy. So Chunky Kong being the huge character that he is, his special ability is getting bigger. I mean, I'd like to see him take on the Hulk. That would be so entertaining. And the way that they made Cranky the DJ is absolute perfection. I mean, that is amazing. You're going to take an old man like Cranky Kong and turn him into a freaking DJ. This is so cool. Now, outside these main characters you see on the front page, you do have other people that help you out in the background. So we'll start with Funky Kong. This buffed up military junkie loads you up with every weapon in his arsenal. Next we have Snide. Now there's bad guys that you can defeat, and don't be fooled by the color of their hair. That doesn't mean they're Super Saiyan God mode. That just means you got to use the right character to defeat them. You get these little blueprints, take them to Snide, and he's got this crazy cool looking machine. I always love to watching this whenever I turn them in. This is just one of those cool things that Rare does where they take something that could have been simple where he just hands you a banana, but instead they use this whole process of instruments to give you a banana. Then we have Candy Kong. You meet her a little bit later in the game, pretty early still, but I mean, she's like a model in the Kong world. It's hilarious. It's absolutely ridiculous. Even the music they're playing, like they're trying to set the mood for something. Anyways, she loads you up with a bunch of instruments. You can see them in the background. Each Kong gets a different instrument, which is used to trigger switches, open new doors, or you can even use it to blast everybody in your area with a big sound wave. Next, we have our little tiny fairy island, a banana fairy at that. I mean,
This is absolutely bananas!
because the banana fairy makes sense in the Kong world, right? Well, you go and talk to her, you have to rescue her fairies. In turn, she'll give you bananas, and the way that you rescue her fairies apparently is by using a camera and taking pictures of them. Kind of feels like you're playing Pokemon Snap without the Pokemon. Now, this giant guy looks like a bad guy, but he's actually not. He ends up helping you out. Let's see, King K. Rool, he actually wanted him to be the one to destroy the DK Island, but he refused to because he's too nice of a guy, so he caged him up. And then whenever you get keys to try to help him out, he uses his big giant body to jump around and apparently break other openings in the world for you. And King K. Rool being the main bad guy of this game, I mean, he's the coolest bad guy they had. Way cooler than the Tiki Tak tribe.
So as we dive into, I mean, lo and behold, the ultimate Donkey Kong game that there ever was and ever will be, and probably won't ever get another one like it.
Well, you start off the game with Donkey Kong in his little tree house while he's trying to get some reps in, and then the bird flies in and tells him about the bad news. Yeah, I gotta be honest, this is a great start to any game. I always felt like whenever you get to see that character in their natural home, it always paints a better picture of the kind of character you're playing as. And having that free roam ability to go back and just roam around in DK's home is, I mean, that's the coolest thing. Now, he's a monkey, so what is he concerned about? Bananas. And what do? You go into his banana hoard and notice all his bananas are gone. King K. Rool, on the bent of destroying Donkey Kong Island, has decided he was going to steal all his bananas before he could destroy him, I guess. With all your Kong buddies trapped up, you go around the world trying to save them, rescue them so they can add to your ability and add to your arsenal. Now, what I think is cool about this is they make you use all the Kong Kongs. You don't just like have the option to play as them, you have to play as them. And they all have their own abilities, they have their own weapons, they have their own move set. And that's what made this game so fun, was you were able to play as these different characters and use them for an actual purpose. It's not just like changing a skin and using the exact same gameplay. Each character was different. And before I get too far ahead of myself, I did want to talk about all the mini games that they had in there. They even have it to where you can go back and play the original Donkey Kong in this Nintendo 64 game. And these mini games just made the game even bigger. You weren't just playing the normal aspect of running around collecting bananas, but you even had these mini games that were a totally different gameplay style. I mean, when you have a AAA title, full adventure game, and then they additionally add other aspects of gameplay to it, I mean, it's just a masterpiece. Then we get into the variety of the different levels and the different worlds that you go into. Starting with Jungle Japes, this one makes sense. I mean, they're monkeys, obviously they're gonna have a jungle level, and that would be the first one you jump into. But even within these levels, they still have a variety. Diddy Kong has his own whole mind level section, and what's cool about it is they keep these levels reusable whenever you get your other characters, so you can go back and experience these levels again in a different point of view. And all that does is factor in replayability. And next up, we have our desert level, Angry Aztec. Here, the difficulty gets a little harder. You meet different enemies. Additionally, there's quicksand you gotta avoid, setting a completely different tone for the game. And yes, you gotta go back with your other characters after you get them and recollect different bananas of different colors. But that's what makes it so fun, is the ability to go back with these other characters and have them have useful things in these worlds and actually serve a purpose, seeing different parts of the same levels. Next up, we have Frantic Factory. This robotic place is filled with toys as enemies, and it's also the place where we get to find my favorite Kong, Chunky Kong, roaming around in this dark metal industrial zone, but also somehow built like a toy factory. And this amused me so much, is your enemies are literal toys. I've seen small soldiers. I know what toys do when they come alive. I will destroy them. I will drown them in gasoline, light the match, and watch them burn. Now give it up for Gloomy Galleon, or however you say that, I don't know. Water levels, am I right? Nobody likes water levels, but this one isn't too bad. I don't know, a lot of people complain about it, but I personally like it. Now something I thought was really cool is they added in the jetpack game, one of the old games that Rare had into this game. I mean, this wasn't necessary, this is all Rare. But this is what they did with this game. They filled it to the brim with so many different things to do. And every time I have the opportunity to use Diddy Kong's jetpack, I get so excited. But I love this whole level design with the pirate ship and the lighthouse. It's the whole design of this level was amazing. Just for it being a water level and having these kind of aspects in the game was genius. You know, whenever you played Mario, you played the water levels in Mario, you were stuck in the water the entire time, and this is a nice break from that. I think they knew that people didn't like water levels, but you gotta have a water level, so at least they didn't drown you with it. Get it? Drown. Oh my god, my jokes are so funny. Now we have the Alice in Wonderland level. Fungi Forest. Whatever you want to call it, you can work with both. Now, the cool design with this one was the fact that you could change it from day to night, changing the way the level was and only giving you access to those day and night. Now, you could say that this is a little tedious, but it's actually entertaining when you're thinking about it in the puzzle aspect. I don't know where that rabbit is, but I found a giant clock. And they also added in the poison ivy, so if you bump into it, it hurts you, which is another way to raise the difficulty in a neat way. And introducing new enemies, even in this one, and even this late in the game. I've seen so many games where they repeat the same kind of bad guys, but that's where you can see the effort that they put into this. They didn't want you to repeat the same thing over and over again. They wanted to throw different stuff at you and change up the game. Next stop is Crystal Caves. It's a cave. There's crystals, there's ice crystals. In case you want to be a miner, now's the time. This was a neat design because instead of just making like a frozen tundra, instead you're in a cave where it actually is able to stay cold, and they built these little ice castles and ice igloos. You don't really see this kind of design in any game, really. They have the frozen levels and the tundra levels, but you never have one like where it's inside a cave and frozen. But this moment right here is what I enjoy seeing, is the change of environment. You're inside a cave, so why not be able to create lava inside an ice cave? And the additional change in scenery in the background where you looks like ancient huts that the bad guys are using to live in or something. Here's our last stop at Creepy Castle. This is everyone's favorite level, honestly. I mean, it's the like medieval castle style, but got a Halloween creepy aspect to it. I was expecting to see vampires in this, like it's something out of Castlevania or something. It's epic. I mean, this really sets the mood for that Halloween vibe, that real spooky vibe, and showing that you're getting closer to the end of the game because everything's getting darker. But what's hilarious is even the enemies are sheet-covered ghost gators, like they're not even real ghosts. You could tell that Rare was enjoying designing this game all the way through. This has got to be the best cart use in the entirety of Donkey Kong. He's running through the rails while being chased by this ghost. Perfect. You know exactly what I want. A freaking Halloween ride. Now, as we get to the end of the game of the final boss fight, this ain't no usual boss fight. You're literally in a wrestling arena. But see, this is one of the best boss fights I think there's ever been, because with all these characters that you have, you actually have to go through and use each of them using their special abilities that you picked up along your adventure, and using all of these abilities to take him out in this final boss fight. I mean, this made every character completely useful up until the end. This is the kind of grand finale that you want at the end of a game. Now we can finally get out of here. But before I go, I just want to say that they did have a multiplayer mode in there with a couple of different kind of games, but the one that was best was this one, and it's where you can do a 4-player split screen and just battle it out and eliminate each other. It was so entertaining. Spent so many hours playing this mode. And my only problem with this nowadays is they don't make games like this anymore. They haven't made another Donkey Kong game like this.
I'm just trying to rack the barrels in my brains to figure out why they haven't done this.
Now, I hate being the kind of person to complain, but I mean, they keep doing this. Nintendo keeps bringing us games that we've already played. And this is a good game. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but instead of making a new game, this is what we get.
Instead of making a new game, a full AAA 3D game that they could be making, instead, they're gonna give us this again. But there may be hope.
So there is speculation amongst fans that part of the reason that they're bringing this game back and bringing it to the Switch in HD is because they're going to do a full Donkey Kong comeback. But that's all just hopes and dreams. We don't actually know this. We're just hoping that we're going to get a full AAA Donkey Kong 3D game again, because we haven't had one since the 64, which was forever ago. So I'm not going to point fingers at anyone specifically, but all these other YouTubers out there that are talking crap about Donkey Kong 64, I mean, y'all, I'm just saying, kind of the reason that maybe Nintendo's not wanting to make another 3D Donkey Kong game. I don't know, maybe.
Now, I don't want to complain too much. These games are still good. Obviously, I have them for a reason. I'm just missing something beautiful. What? Not that. This is the one. You know what this has that these don't have? But it appears that someone has chosen this one over the other ones, but I think it's just because she likes the case.
Well, if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Subscribing is free. I don't charge. And I do want to thank everybody that helped me finally reach 200. It's been a whole year since I started, and I'm really thankful for everyone that's actually supporting me in this. So
Just you play into what she's saying.
Olivia, we don't have the income to pay for you to have speaking roles. We're on a budget.